Alright, we're back. Now I got some bolts, some heavy duty washers, some of my good heavy duty grade 8 washers, long bolts. Yep. Damn it, almost caught it. Hey, my engine stand fits. Somebody must have made it correctly. Wonder who that could have been. Figures the hardest bolt is the one you can't get the nut to go in. Burrs on them threads. Kind of clean them up a little bit. And right there at the end is where they're the hardest. Kind of burnish them in a little bit. There we go. Finger tight. Close enough. Okay, I want to see how these cylinders are going to work, and the heads and all the intake manifold, all that kind of stuff. So I put these up on there. This looks like the rear one because the notch is on the rear. Okay, they fit on there, it's a good sign. These big bore motors got a stud issue in the back cylinder. Sometimes in the front cylinder too, but see where they go through the case right there. Gotta make sure they're not hitting. Okay, that one's hitting a little bit. See how the scale's rocking back and forth. So that stud has to be cut away. And this one looks like it's good. Okay, so this bolt here is going to have to be cut. So it looks like that bolt's going to permanently be in that location. So we're going to go ahead and mark it. Okay. That's why you do mock-ups. And this one appears to be on the inside of it. The case got cut away, but the bolt's on the inside of it, so it's not an issue. So these two up here are fine. That one is not. So that one has to be worked on. So there's our mark right there. That's how much it has to be cut. It doesn't need to be cut much, but it's got to be cut a little bit. So it probably only needs about 10 thou. So it doesn't need a lot, but it does need something. This is temporarily not being used, so we're going to, instead of cutting it, we're just going to file it. Or I got to set up the cutter. Locking up right Right where that's at. See, that's the side it goes down to. So you could take a file, a half moon, something like this, go right up on there and just go back and forth a few times like this. Probably be enough to do the job. Or you get your cutter out and you cut it. It does absolutely no good when you're not looking at the picture. So you can go here with a file like this, or you can cut it. So this you can put actually in a drill press and do it this method. So I'm going to, we need to come over about towards that file. So let's see how this works. This is a double bastard. Nice and coarse. Not fancy, but effective. It leaves a nice corncob finish too. Rough file, see? Now you want to smooth that up a little bit to get a finer file. Yeah, like this one right here. So you don't have to have a lot of fancy tools to do some jobs. A little smoother, still a little rough. Alright, there's what it looks like now. Let's go see if it's enough. Find out. If you had a lathe, you know exactly how much you cut, but I'm going to use a lathe. Okay, I need a mic. Here's what I'm looking for. I can use calipers instead. Calipers are easy for you to see. Okay, so we're about 10 there. So all of that cut, we cut 5,000. That wasn't much of a cut. 10. It's only about 5,000 we did. Not very effective, was that? Seemed like I was cutting more than 5. I want to cut at least 10, so I'm going to cut some more. 5 is probably enough, but I don't know. I'd rather look more than 5. This time we bring our caliper with us. Now, if you only really have to cut one little spot out, but if you ever rotate this bolt, it helps to have it cut all the way around. If you don't want to rotate the bolt, put a mark in it so you know exactly where it goes. And if you try to knock this out with the cylinders in there, you damage the cylinders. Breaks them. Seen that done more than once. Okay, we're going to use the big tool again. Now we know we got to work a little harder now. Yeah, we're making a difference now. We're at 0. a smoother finish maybe. Alright, let's see what we got. All right, 10 down, 10 up. So right in the middle we're 10 down, and over here on the edge we're 10 down. We're 15 down over here in the middle. Okay, that should be enough clearance for what we need. Had to get more aggressive that time. Once you find out how much aggressiveness you got to use, you can use the appropriate amount. At first you don't really know, you're guessing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this back in there. Rotation doesn't matter, obviously. Put it all the way around. But I didn't cut far enough over, that was the problem. Yeah, didn't cut enough. Off center. I cut too much here. The center is where I need to be, is right here. My low spot's here. I'm over here. I'm a 1/4 inch off. So I go back and do some more cutting. That's what happens when you don't do a good marking system. Should have measured it. Oh well. Third time's a charm, right? Well, I do it correctly the first time, and you get to keep redoing it until you get it right. Okay, we're going to get closer to the vise, to our chuck. Alright, that should be good. Alright. Let's go see if we did the correct amount. You notice I did not bring the measuring device with me when I checked that. Got confidence I did it wrong, or right. Alright, let's see what we got this time. Ooh, we got carried away. Look at that, I cut 30s out down there. Yeah, it's definitely low there now. I made sure I cut enough. Washer on the floor. One of the bolts the washers fell off of. I wonder which one that was. We'll figure it out later. Alright, so now this goes in here. And what are you looking at me for? I am not important. Not even close to being important. So when you put it in there, now you can see the file marks are there, but if you really want to know what's going on, you put it on top of the case like this. And see, now you can definitely see the lowest spots where my nail is, and then from here over it's big. This is the old low spot. So I got plenty of meat cut out. Stuff it in there. If you want to know for sure, you take your 6-inch scale and lay it back in here. And see, now it doesn't rock. See, it has enough clearance. Does not hit on it. So that is good. That over there. Tripod is not helping me this minute. Okay, so now I'm going to try this again. Okay. Now you want to tell the rear from the front. It's real simple. Push rods are on the right side. Cutout is in the middle of V. So this would be the rear. Because if it was on this direction, the push rods would be on the left side. That ain't how it is. Now the paint I used on these was Engine Aho, which is getting harder to come now. But see, it's a top fuel Hemi motor, so you know it's good paint. See? I put 2 big layers of paint on both sides, this direction and then this direction. So it's got a nice good glossy finish. It's not baked on, so it's going to be semi-soft for a month or two. If he puts it in the oven for 125, 130 degrees, it'll bake on real nice and hard. It'll stay this way until it flakes off. Okay, that one fits on really easy now. This one here goes down a little bit easier than the last time. Still got a little bit of something in there somewhere, but once you get in there, it's good. We've got rotational clearance in there, so we're good. Okay, I don't know what happened to the base nuts for this project, so we have to get some different ones. So I got a couple options of that. We got the new S&S shorties, which are real short. So you have to cut the studs down to put them in there. Like this. Now these 74-inch studs might just fit. What's nice is you can put a wrench on top probably and clear. So these actually are a pretty good option. Very expensive. These here are the colony nut. They work a little better. If you want the S&S nut, there's a number for the S&S nut. You can see that. So these are a lot cheaper. These go up in there like that. And they'll definitely cover the whole nut. So, but in order to get a wrench up on top of there, we might have to trim slightly off the bottom to get it down low enough to get the wrench head up under there. This is a 7/16 wrench here, and this one over here is a 1/2 inch wrench here. So the 1/2 inch wrench might not clear the back of the cylinder, whereas the 7/16 will clear the back of the cylinder, especially after you trim it slightly. See, my wrenches have been trimmed, which means they've been cut and ground thinner than how they come out of the box. Big honking thick ass things like these. See the difference in the two thicknesses? See, I clean my wrenches off. I can cut the piss out of them. Good wrenches don't break after you do that. Crappy wrenches do break. Now this here would be the torque wrench for the cylinder base with a 7/16. And this will be the torque wrench for the 1/2 inch. So this is our 1/2 inch size over here, which has obviously been trimmed again. But like I said, I don't think there's room to put the 1/2 inch one in here with a nut. And you can see right there, there's no way that would work. See the clearance on the stud? It barely goes around there with no clearance. That means there's no room for a bolt in there. 1/2 inch does not work. Whereas the 7/16, you put that on there, you can see how there's got a lot of clearance there. It's still going to be tight probably, but it should work. So I like the option of the colony bolt and not the S&S bolt here, because S&S, here's our number, made their head too big. Now what they're going to do is they're using an open end, 1/2 inch, like this, to tighten it up. Now you can get more torque with a 1/2 inch open end than a 7/16 open end. But like I said, if you grind this down a little bit shorter and cut your wrench down, you can probably get a box on there and you can really torque the snot out of it. You can pull 70 foot-pounds of torque with that wrench. This one here, you're going to be at about 30. This thing's just going to go spread right out on you and start rounding off. So this is the better way of going over this method. But I don't think it'll fit in there very well right now because they're too tall. But they're close. They'll clear the fins, but to be able to get the wrench on it, you got to shorten a little bit. So this is a 74-inch motor, so it has short studs in it. 80-inch motors have taller studs, about 1/4 inch, 3/8 taller, depending on how they're made. So these ones you don't have to cut down. The later cases, you got to cut the studs down. So 74 motors are made right. See, they fit better. All right, so there's the differences on those. So now I know for sure direction I'm going to recommend going. Okay, now the next problem is the heads, which are over there in that box over there. And here's the head gaskets. heads. These are Ultima heads. Pretty damn nice heads, good castings, good material. Got nice good valves and stuff in there. What's really nice is the ports are pretty much in line. They don't have a bunch of dog legs in there. So it's pretty much a straight shot in and out. So they flow a lot better than S&S heads and Harley heads. STD heads made heads like this too, which aren't available anymore. So that's what you're looking for, a nice straight port. These are relatively small, so they're more like high velocity than being hogged out for big motors. And they come with an O-ring here, which is a disadvantage. I can't bore this out bigger without cutting the O-ring off. So that's a disadvantage of that head. These come with 4 plugs already, which I'm not a big fan of. So anyway, and they have a compression release, which once again I'm not a big fan of those either. I've had zero luck trying to kickstart a bike with compression releases in it. They bleed off too much cylinder pressure to fire the motor. So I don't like them. Okay, so this goes on here. Like that. Here's the other one. We're going to need some head gaskets on here. And some bolts. Oop. So I use MLS head gaskets because the blue Teflon ones loosen up as soon as you start the bike up. You got to retorque the heads about 3 times in the first 50 miles, or you lose torque. Not too good. These you put them in once and they're done. Okay. So these are climatic. There's some numbers if you care. I'm not a big fan of climatic gaskets, but I like their MLS gaskets. They're pretty good. Paper gaskets suck from them. Living dangers. Need some head bolts in there. Head bolts, head bolts. Where's the head bolts? There's a big box of parts over here. Head bolts in them. They resemble these. So S&S makes the best bolt, and they cost twice as much as anything else. Oh well. Here's why they're better. You have to use a 12 point because you got to be able to get a wrench on it. Their wash is very small OD, so it fits up inside of their cylinder. Colony has a bolt kit, but they stick out about another 1/16 of an inch. They're too damn big to go in the motor. So they don't work very well. That would be a problem. Okay. 1 bolt in for safety, that way it can't fall out. Here's the part number for the S&S bolts, if you can catch that, I don't know. Very expensive, way overpriced. Now if you take the Colony bolts and stick them onto a bolt like this and trim all the things down, all the washers down, then you can use a cheaper set. But you got to machine them. Probably get cheaper stuff, you got to put more work in it.